Well, this is not boat related, although when I get it through, I will be able to cut parts for boats. But I am working on a homemade CNC machine, CNC Router, and just getting going here. I've got electronic setup where I can turn motors. These motors are NEMA 34, and they're 4-to-1 reduction gear, and they've got the built-in encoder, the closed loop motors. So these are good motors. But I bought this setup from a guy not too far away from me, about an hour and a half away, and he had spent a couple of years researching and buying components and starting to build a CNC machine, and he got along pretty far with it. But he didn't finish it. Anyway, his interest changed direction, I guess you could say, doing more machine shop work, and decided to sell this. And I was fortunate enough to get it for a very reasonable price. I've still got to go back and pick up the framework that he'd started for the table. But I've got all the electronics and the motors, all that stuff here. And it's just been rainy and snowy and just too wet to go back and get the rest of it yet. So I'll go back and get it in another week or so. But like I say, I've have a past with CNC machines. Quite a few years ago, I built a CNC machine from scratch, did my own circuit boards and everything, built one, power supplies, the whole bit. And this was a long time ago. This was probably back when ShopBot was first starting out, back when they had their earliest machines, where they were cable driven and all that stuff, and with the framework was like that metal right there, that what do you call that stuff, span strut, or whatever that stuff's called, unistrut. And I had looked at theirs and I thought, well, I can build one better than that in my own shop. So I set about to build one, and I built one, and I got work with it, and I built another one that was bigger and better, and I got more work with it, and then I built a third one that was even larger and better. And I started doing work for 3M Company and some other companies, and doing quite a bit of work with it, and for quite a few years actually. And ultimately I ended up did buy 2 ShopBots actually, whenever they started getting their machines really good. And their machines, by the way, are really good now. They're really nice machines. But I bought a second-hand PRT Alpha 4x8, and then later I bought another PRT Alpha 4x8. And actually I had a third one at one time, but I sold that one early on. It was an older machine. And then I ended up with I bought a second-hand Thermwood machine, just a big, massive machine that I bought from a furniture company that went out of business, furniture manufacturing company that went out of business. And I bought that, and that was a 5x12 table, if I remember correctly. It was a massive machine. It had dual 12 horsepower spindles on it and dual air drills all on the same gantry. But it was a massive machine. It had a 1/2-inch aluminum base bed, and then I had my spore boards and stuff on top of that. It was just a massive machine. It weighed several tons. And anyway, I continued to do work for 3M Company for years, and I did work for SC Desco Company, and I used to do work for sign shops and different things. Of course, I do use it for my own stuff. But anyway, I sold all my machines down to one, and I should have kept it when I retired, and I decided to sell it too, and I've regretted it ever since, getting rid of that last machine. I should have kept it. And so I've been looking for something to play around with, and I ran across this, and I think this will be a good setup for me when I get it all together. like I say, it's not finished. It still needs a good bit of work, but it's far enough along to where it's going to be easy for me to finish it, being that I'm kind of familiar with the stuff from the past. So hopefully I'll have the the rest of it brought in and set up where I can get busy finishing putting it together and getting all the axes working and that kind of thing. This will just be a hobby machine for me at this point because like I said, I'm retired. I'm mostly messing with boats. I will be able to use this machine to some degree, on my boat work, and but mostly it's just for hobby and play, just because I kind of miss working with them. These will be high torque and super good resolution with them geared. And each one has I'm running everything on 240 volts. My main power supply is 240 volts, and got drivers for each motor. There'll be two X motors, one Y and one Z, so 4 total. And I've got a separate power supply for each driver. And then I've got 2 power supplies here that I can get 5 or 24 volts from, that I'm currently running this here control board here. This is a standalone motion control board, which I'm actually not going to use. This is just for setup purposes. I'm actually going to use something different than this. But this is a DDCSV version 3.1, DDCS4, I think it is, a 4-axis controller. And it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it except for one thing. The screen is too little. It's only a 5-inch screen. And with my old eyes, it's hard to see the small screen, but it does work. And I can control the motors. Let's see here. I've only got 3 motors hooked up right now, but there'll be 4 motors. You can see there, that would be my X. And this is the Y. And then this is the Z axis. I've got it set slower right now. And so if I forget later when I get my table set up, I won't ram it into the board, because there's only, I think I've probably going to build it with 8 or 10 inch clearance on the Z. So anyway, and I can run all of them at one time. So I do have the hardware pretty much done here. The motors, cabling, electronics. This all may change, but and the cabinet's going to change. This is a temporary cabinet, just to get it all set up. But it does work. So I'll have more on this as I progress with it. I'm going to probably end up using this monitor here. This is an industrial monitor that's designed to go in a cabinet with a protective cover and all that. I'm going to probably use that, which is like a 15-inch screen instead of that little 5-inch screen. And I'm going to probably be changing out this motion controller here that's got the integrated screen to a motion controller that I can add my monitor to, and keyboard and mouse and all. I still may end up using standalone and not use a computer, but I do have Mach 3 software, so I may use the motion controller but run it through a computer to get the best of both worlds. And anyway, this is where it's going to go. I used to have one right here before, So I've already got my overhead beam for picking up heavy stuff, and I've already got my dust collection system for pulling dust outside. I've got my switch here for running a 220 volt dust cyclone outside. I've got a plug in here from a vacuum, 220 volt vacuum pump. And the vacuum pump that I've got right now is a 3-phase, so I'll be running a phase converter or a VFD or whatever to run that. And then this is my 220 volts for my machine itself. And then I've got 110 volt right here as well, in case I need that for a PC or whatever. And then I've got the green cable down here is a ground that runs directly outside into an 8-foot ground rod driven in the ground. So this machine will have a dedicated ground rod. That's what I used to do on my old machine, and that worked really well. So this is my vacuum pump here. It's 5 horsepower, 3-phase, and that's the filter and stuff there. Got some miscellaneous cables and stuff here, and like I said, I've got that screen. This has actually got a computer mounted to it, but I'm gonna probably take the screen off and not use that computer, although I could use that computer. It does not take much of a computer to run a CNC machine when you're using the controller, motion controller with it, but I'm gonna take the electronics out of this box. I'm gonna eventually do a metal enclosure for all that power supplies and the drivers and everything. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm piddling on out here this morning. It's got a bunch of electronic stuff here. I'm just taking apart for parts. Just trying to salvage a few parts, some contactors, just a connection here. So I just strip out parts to make things. This is full of good DIN rails and all kind of rail mounted breakers and stuff like that in here. Plus that the switch there we'll keep. That's what I'm piddling on out here this morning. There's some boat stuff. This is some teak grates for cockpit. And you can see all the sign stuff here. I used to have 3 CNCs in this building. I had 2 ShopBots, 4x8 ShopBots, PRT Alphas, and with spindle motors. And I had a great big 5x12 Thermwood that had 2 12 horsepower spindles and 2 air drills. And it took up those 3 machines took up the majority of the shop. But I sold them a good while back, whenever I quit doing so much CNC work. And but I've just wanted, ever since I sold them, I thought I should have kept one of them. I need one for hobby. So I'm gonna put another one together here, homemade. I'm just buying secondhand stuff. I'm gonna put something together, try it kind of cheap. We'll see how it goes. Years ago, when I got first ShopBot CNC, I had this production router on it with this mounting collar here, and not too long after I got it, I switched over to a real spindle and a VFD controller and all that, and I took this off and I just stuck it in a drawer here in the shop, and I've had it for years, but it never had that much use, honestly. And this is a production router, a Porter cable, 7518 variable speed production router, and it does a good job, for hobby stuff, but for when you're doing, commercial type stuff, you want something that's quieter and less run out and all that. But anyway, for this machine that I'm fixing to try to put together here, I'm going to start out using this router because I've got it on hand here, and that'll get me started. And then eventually I'll change it out for a spindle, whenever I maybe find a second hand one somewhere. Maybe a second hand rebuilt one or something from a rebuild shop. But I've got a bunch of different size collets, 1/2 inch, 3/8, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch collets for it. So got all that. So that's what I'm going to use to start with, at least to get it going. and then as I improve it, I'll eventually try to find a spindle for it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Right now we've got snow on the ground here. It's been pretty rainy, and we've got snow on the ground right now. Not too much, but it's melting. But hopefully I'll be back to doing some boat work before too long. Thanks for watching.